Yep, I'm the treasurer.
Oh, okay. All right.
Namando, 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 namando.
Good morning. My name is Denny Terao, and I will be the chairperson for this morning's service. We'll begin this morning's service with the Sambucho on pages 24 and 25, followed by the Juseige on page 93.
所長事項不教義書門政府上昇が利欲人少年上映主本業四苦不浄土一生天日人力現代公無償無才道少女三苦行法裁修薬難大悲一霊言滅死根本難低速小悪道通達全注文放送上難道医療老実法日月修十期健康本普遍一周解放送公正苦毒法情報大集中説法知識不要一切物不足種徳本願礼質上満徳理三大を用物下し通達未不詳難学営利投資最小損志願薬効果大仙の感動航空商店に大人用へ
Please stand for our first gatha, Arigato, on page 36 in the white book. The second verse, Japanese and English, and then remain standing for the reading of the three treasures in the purple book on page 8.
Three Treasures, page 8. Three Treasures, number 1. Hard is it to be born into human life, now we're living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One, now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, free from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda.
Now, Reverend Fujimoto will introduce our guest speaker, Landon Yamaoka, who will share the Dharma message with us this morning. Sensei.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ohayou gozaimasu. Yeah, we are very fortunate to have a guest speaker today at this family service. Landon Yamaoka grew up connected to the Palo Alto Temple and has helped there quite a bit as a minister assistant, and he's taken classes at the Institute of Buddhist Studies, and he's received his ordination for Tokudo in Kyoshi, still working on his thesis to finish up, and hopefully he'll be able to join the ranks of the ministers of the Buddhist Churches of America. So through the kindness of Reverend Koyama in Palo Alto, the procedure is when there's a minister assistant that you would like to invite, you ask his supervising minister permission, and then once he gets okay and then the schedules are cleared, then they're able to come and we make our arrangements. So supported, and Koyama Sensei was very happy to have Landon be able to come here and support speaking to us. I got a call 2 days ago trying to make sure how do we show our video services? And ours is YouTube, and some do Zoom services and such. And so they wanted to make sure that they knew how to catch the service that Landon would be providing. So after I explained a little bit, she says, "Oh, I'm Landon's mother." And I try to come to his services when he speaks, but I heard later on, Mom got a puppy, so she can't leave home. So what kind of puppy is it?
A Norwich Terrier,
Norwich
like the
Terrier.
movie Best in Show. The dog that won is the new dog.
Okay, yeah, so she has further responsibilities, otherwise she might be here. So we're changing things a little bit. Landon has set up his laptop over here. Maybe it's helpful to have a microphone.
Oh, I mean, I can project if you want me to.
Howard, can you bring the microphone from the other room and provide it? I wasn't sure Howard was here. Howard, can you hear me? Howard, just come this way. Just come this way and get the microphone. Okay? We all know who you are. You don't have to speak loud.
Thank you.
Yeah, this will be a help.
Been a while.
Yeah, fortunately, Howard is here, has been away on vacation and is back now. So while he's setting that up, I could ask Landon to come up to this mic and kind of introduce himself a little bit further, and when he's completed, he will step down to this table. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm Landon Yamaoka, and I'm not related to Bishop Yamaoka. So if you ever have to refer to both of us in a room, my joke is, and he thought this was hilarious, he choked laughing. There's Yamaoka Sensei 1, the real Yamaoka Sensei, and then I'm just the Yamaoka Sensei number 2. So I'm not related to the bishop. He thinks that I should tell people that we are related, but I'm sure that was a joke. But growing up, everyone asked, "Are you related to the bishop?" And I was like, "No." I think we would know. But the only reason why I went to grad school is because one day I was called into an office to meet someone, and it was him. And so they're like, "This person, he's really important. He used to be the bishop." I was like, "Oh, I know Yamaoka Sensei." And so we sat down, and he talked. He's like, "I see you helping at the Jodo Shinshu Center. I always wanted to meet you." And I was like, "I actually met you when I was in YBA." But his thing was, "I've always wanted to ask you if we're related." And I was like, "I know he knows we're not related." And I was like, "I don't think so, sir. But I mean, if you think so," he's like, "Oh, no, okay. Well, how about you come to school?" And I was like, "Oh, I see what you're doing." But that's the motivation to come, was he would call me every month and be like, "So just talk to me. What do you think? What do you think?" And gently nudged me to where I'm at. So, but yes, I attended the University of Arizona. I was either going to be allowed by my mom to go to either private Christian colleges or to University of Arizona because they had the best learning disability program in the United States. Had I not done that, I would not have gotten out of college. And I guess another big reason that I came back to Jodo Shinshu was I have pretty severe learning disabilities. So I showed the anthropology, I'm an anthro major and a sociology minor, and I showed them, hey, like, I have these really bad English issues. Like, I don't know what the tests read, but it says English, probably not good. And so they said, "Oh, we'll replace your language requirements with a cultural focus. You can choose any focus in the world." And so I said, East Asia and Japan. I'd like to learn more about Japanese culture because outside of the temple, I didn't really have any Japanese friends, so I don't necessarily know all the things about the culture that maybe my grandparents and parents just kind of took for granted. And Buddhism kept coming up, and finally one class I was like, I just want to study Buddhism, Shinto, and Zen. We're all kind of there, but this one religious studies class specifically had Jodo Shinshu, and I was like, yes, I'm not gonna have to study. I already kind of know Shinto and Zen. And the guy said, "Oh, well, if you're Japanese, you're probably from LA." And I said, "No, I'm from the Bay." And he was like, "Oh, they probably have it there too. Your religion is huge." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And so he said, this guy's going to know every question in the class. And everyone kind of looked at me like, that's not the kid we think that is smart. He's not going to know nothing. And then I opened the book and I was like, I don't know any of this. Like, I don't understand. Like, how could this be? So I called my mom and she got upset. She's like, how could you be confused? Like, you grew up at the temple. And I was like, well, yeah, but this teacher is like assigning homework. And are you sure we're Jodo Shinshu? Because I'm sure we've never gone over this in temple. I didn't pay attention all the time, but I think some of it. But I came home and Abiko Sensei was kind enough to give me some books. And he said, just read this book. I think it'll speak to your wild personality. But if you like it, then read this book. And then read this book. And then I kept reading the books over and over, not really getting the core aspects of Jodo Shinshu. But after my grandpa had passed, I would look at his bookshelf and there was books signed by different ministers that they had written. I mean, these are like probably for the 50s, 60s, and 70s, but my family's like, grandpa's not around anymore and no one is going to read this. They're going to end up in the garbage someday, so you can take it. So I just started taking more books and then here we are. Should I start, Sensei, since the mic's not there, or do you want me to?
Yeah.
Just, it's okay? Okay.
Here it comes.
Look.
Who's trying?
Oh, he's trying. Okay. Well, I will use my best chanting voice and try to not yell at you. But, so I'm going to... Maybe not. Okay, well, we'll try this. Can you just... Oh, thank you.
It's not a guarantee, but
I'm not a real millennial because I don't know how to use technology. If you can get it to play, I'm not even going to do it in order. We're just going to play the clip before we do the Dharma talk because last time it crashed with the kids and I couldn't figure out what I'm sure it's me. I could also just hold the computer.
I think it's about to.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Okay, so this is a little unorthodox, but just while we
Let's get them off of the task that may not happen. Hey, Hal, let's come up.
So I also apologize. When we were talking about how to set this up, I knew that I needed the dongle for the Apple thing. I study with earbuds in to drown out the noise, so I didn't think about how I would need to have had speakers for all of you, so I apologize, but I will make sure the volume's up as high as we can go. It's all the way up.
Damn, you don't have to hold that.
Okay. Sorry that was a little out of order. I just didn't want to lose the technology. The kids wanted more. I actually didn't even do like more than a fourth of my Dharma talk for the kids. So some of the stuff that I thought that people would have heard from the kids talk was in the other one. But I didn't think they would engage with me. That's never happened before. So if you're going to engage with me, that's great too. But some stuff I might have to explain as I'm reading because it would have been from the kids' Dharma talk. But if you wouldn't mind putting your hands together and joining me in Gassho, please. From the Hymns of the Dharma Ages, number 245. Ignorance and blind passions abound. pervading everywhere like innumerable particles of dust. Desire and hatred arising out of conflict and accord are like high peaks and mountain ridges. Namo Dhammatsu.
Namo
Dhammatsu.
Namo Dhammatsu.
Namo Dhammatsu.
Namo Dhammatsu.
Good morning. And thanks for being patient with me today. I am a millennial. I'm like the old first year of millennials, and I can't use technology super well. But thank you for being patient with me. So the Gosandai, or the beginning quote that I used today, it's actually not supposed to be used. It's from a section of wasans or poems or hymns that are chanted after Shoshinge. Does everyone know the chant Shoshinge maybe? Sometimes it's the Shoshinge shuffle, the one that everyone flips the pages because they want it just to be over the long chant. Okay, good. We chant hymns after that sometimes, and this is one of them. It's a little dark, and maybe that's why we're not supposed to use them, but I thought it worked for kind of the stuff we're going to talk about today. These hymns of the Dharma H's of Shozo Matsu Wasan were written by Shinran at the age of 85. They were written to show readers or chanters his thoughts on the age in which Buddhism would begin to decline, and certain practices in his belief or in the Buddhist context people back then believed would also be less effective. So this is really important within our tradition. The doctrinal idea is that the Nembutsu, when we say Namo Dhammatsu, would be the most useful as a spiritual practice, and some believe that could only be a practice that could be utilized later on in time after the historical Buddha had been gone for a period of time. So, does anyone know why we say the Nembutsu? Sort of. Okay, maybe. A lot of people like to say we're just saying it out of appreciation or gratitude for Amida Buddha for striving to create the Pure Land for us so we can go there when we die. And our tradition says this is especially important in a time in which Buddhism has been around for so long, maybe other practices aren't going to work. So some argue and say that the Buddhist teachings are so watered down that saying Amida Buddha's name in reverence is the only Buddhist practice that can work. So that is within our orthodox. I can't really speak to that idea. I've never practiced other Buddhist traditions. And so I'm not going to say that they don't all work, but I know at least for me and for this talk today, this is kind of the only practice that I know could work for me. Sorry, I will project. So perhaps another person, some of you, or maybe you have family from other religious traditions, or Buddhist or not, and they do different things, and I'm okay with that at least. I think we all appreciate things differently, and we all learn from having different experiences in our lives. But to go into our religion at least, this is the age where Buddhism would be viewed to be harder to practice or understand. So what about this age? We qualify these statements to be made all those many, many years ago. Why would they think like the teachings are going to get watered down or the practices are going to kind of start to slide? Does anyone know why historical writers or other Jodo Shinshu priests and academics had these concerns about this time and age? So I guess I assumed no one was going to answer, but I will stop. Maybe, yes.
It's common in a lot of different Buddhist traditions to talk about the Kali Yuga as the period of the decline of the Dharma. And it's funny, it's been popping up for hundreds and hundreds of years, because the idea, as you already eloquently stated, is after the death of the Buddha, things are going to sort of go downhill and the teaching gets lost or watered or misunderstood or misinterpreted or misapplied, and as the only thing that can save us is Namo Dhammatsu.
Oh, thank you. Yes. I actually didn't know that term. I would have said Mappo, but I'm assuming it's all the same.
Same thing. Mappo.
And they could have taught me that at school, and just, again, English was hard to kind of learn in school, so they said foreign languages, like this shouldn't even try. But so the Gosandai, or the quote the Gosandai, or quote that I used, discusses ignorance and blind passions, and how there's so much around us that people are getting angry, and this, I think we can appreciate, creates conflict in the world, right? I think today, especially when I see the news or like social media, I think there's aspects of our society that is fueling this kind of thinking. So this is from before the pandemic. I went out with some childhood friends for lunch for someone's their birthday. They're twins. I grew up with them. They're doing quite well for themselves, and they're in the tech world. So my two friends, these guys make an insane amount of money. So in the car ride, I was kind of like the one person out. Everyone else was either like in a long-term career of like tech or banking or sales or marketing. And I was the one person that was like, oh, like, well, what did this guy do? Like, well, he's worked in the nonprofits for like 10 years, and he's studying some sort of thing of Buddhism in seminary, which the people thought was cool, but I think we just couldn't connect, right? So they're talking about the tech world. Influencer is. So, if you have time, I did not know what an influencer was. These are people who basically get paid because they have so much following or people following them on their profiles on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. They basically get paid by the advertising companies to just talk about stuff. So, if any an established credibility and audience, who can persuade others by virtue of their trustworthiness and authenticity. So your brand's influencers are users that employ your brand's hashtag, and you have the largest amount of followers. So that might not mean anything to some of us. But it's interesting, on the website that I had to look up this definition, it can pay this website and we'll teach you how to be better influencers, to build up your social content. So the tech world is obviously something new in regards to how information is shared. And I want to make sure that everyone here is okay with, or at least understands, like, I don't have a problem with people using social media. Like, I use Instagram and Facebook, not as much as when I was younger, but I have them. I started to think about all these people who are trying to become influencers, and I wondered if maybe they're starting to chase their likes or hearts or followers, and if they cannot really get past this idea of seeing just the need of getting these likes. I wondered, well, how trustworthy are these people? If you have to be trustworthy to get this position, who's checking to make sure this person's like a credible, legitimate, upstanding citizen and they're not shady, taking advantage of you, or maybe backing like evil corporations? I don't know. I think it sounds fun at a first glance, like you could make a lot of money. I could see why people would want to do this. You get literally paid to show up to events, fun events, trendy events, and since people are following you and you're just posting or showing videos or pictures or whatever, companies are paying you, and they might even be paying people to follow you so you can just talk and to show things, and people are videotaping and taking pictures and they're uploading it to the social media websites. Maybe this is a part-time job for some, maybe this is a full-time job. I think it sounds like it could be kind of a fun life. But then I started thinking about what I know about craving and blind passions, and I wondered, well, I don't know any of these people personally, so I wonder if this is a thing that gets out of hand. After this car ride years later, actually in the pandemic, I found out one of our close friends who has always hated social media was actually the boss of multiple influencers at a fishing clothing company line. He was the guy that's like the rugged outdoor, I mean, he looks like he should be like living in a cabin, but he was the guy showing people how to fish and catching the fish, but because he got so high up, they said, well, you're gonna run this group of influencers because you're gonna promote all of our new jackets and fishwear. And he's like, I know how to talk about this in a business thing. I can sell it to people, but I don't know anything about the internet other than, there's these younger people than him, or younger than both of us. And they're showing, well, this is how we connect to the internet, and this is what you need to do to make it work better. And he's like, I need to just fish and show the company like the clothes. So he's like, I don't understand what I'm doing. But the company's saying, I need you to hit certain lines for marketing and sellable things. And he said it was really stressful. So when we start to seek out things, I think we can appreciate there always needs to be a balance, right? If left unchecked, things get out of hand. I can tell you myself, I didn't do this last night, but I sometimes stay up to like 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning playing my Star Wars game app on my phone, or watching funny videos instead of working on my thesis. Like, this is an issue, obviously. I've gone through periods of my life where I was actually on my phone like 24/7, just checking for likes and for comments, and so I could reply to things. And I know that I spent way too much time on the phone just checking instead of doing other things like laundry or being a good student. Today it's not working on my thesis. I'm not even getting paid for this, right? It's just me interacting with friends or people that I've met from work or church. But I know this is really bad for me, and maybe this kind of reaches to some of you too, that I've definitely been on online arguments that were not going to really change anyone's minds. It wasn't going to make a difference in the world. But I engaged because I felt like I have to back up the content that I'm posting about. So if you've ever been on social media, or maybe you read the comments after like a newspaper article online, you see the comment section sometimes. And in the posts, I'm sure you've witnessed or been a part of or heard about these online arguments where people, it's called trolling. Does everyone know what trolling is?
Yeah.
Where you make people angry. Whether some people believe it, some people don't. Sometimes it's just kind of annoying things. Sometimes it's like very horrible or hurtful things that you see people commenting about in these posts. So back to the quote or Gosandai, ignorance and blind passions. So these are traits that I believe most of us have. I definitely can tell you all here that I'm full of these, and yet I haven't really figured out how to free myself of these traits that have caused me issues and pain, but for sure, issues and pain to the people around me. I think that Master Shinran Shonin understood that he too had these afflictions and knew that deep down he wasn't capable of being like a perfect human being. And I think we can take something from that. I feel like lots of bad things are happening for sure in the world, but like too. And I think a big chunk of that is arising out of, there's this craving for us, maybe it's just Americans, maybe it's all people, that we just have to be right. Whether we're chasing online popularity or we just want to like stick hard to our morals or ethics and tell everyone else around us like this is the only way to do things. I do believe building an online presence can be a very useful tool. I think especially during the pandemic, I did see a lot of our temples and national organizations really kind of jumping to the whole online presence that perhaps, 10, 15, 20 years ago, major companies were already doing that kind of stuff, but we had to because of the conditions of the pandemic. And we're still continuing to do that to promote our temples, our messages, our religion, and I hope that that can continue. I think that's a good thing. However, there's a other side of the world where people will probably do unsafe things to maybe get more clicks or views. Maybe they'll harass strangers to also just get views because they're known as being like a troll and people think it's funny. Or maybe it's just people arguing and then saying really hurtful things or horrible things to each other over online arguments. So some of my friends say that I have a big network of people. I mean, some of them I've never met before, but maybe like 1,000 something people on Facebook, maybe 1,500. A lot of people add me. I don't know who these people are, but I assume it has something to do with the temples. There's a lot of other like mutual friends that I have with this person, but they're ministers that have added me. Sometimes I don't even know the ministers. But I can't reach a lot of people on my social network platform. Like, I'm no one in the bigger scheme of things. I can tell you that I've had very heated political or personal arguments on Facebook, especially during the pandemic. Whether I was right or the other person was right, the influence doesn't really go that far. But there are people who have bigger influences on the society or the government, and those people can choose to make major decisions based off maybe an interaction they had with someone online. I don't think we can help the fact that we have blind passions. I think at times we are going to display ignorant types of thinkings because we're only human, right? Most of us here are not going to make major ripple effects in the world, but maybe one of you in this room will have that ability one day to influence something and change something based on your personal views and your ethics. Or maybe it'll be our children or our grandchildren. I think what's important for us as Jodo Shinshu religious people or members is if we can't see that we do have these blind passions and they're growing from our own ignorance, we can get stuck into like a downward spiral. We can kind of cling and hold on to things, and it just makes things worse and worse and worse for us, but those around us as well. And I think this ties into the clip of the Kingpin from Spider-Man. So the Kingpin in this movie runs like a huge tech company. He's hiding the fact that he's a criminal, and he even uses this technology company to seemingly run a legitimate business. He even provides science videos and equipment and lectures to the gifted private school science class that the Spider-Man in this story goes to. But in behind the scenes, he and Spider-Man are fighting. So his portal device to alternate universes was damaged from fighting. And so what he's basically doing is he's putting bridges between two universes together, but they're not working well, and the universes are starting to be merged together. But he doesn't seem to really care about these dangers. So I didn't say this in this other talk, but as you saw here, the wife and the son get into a car accident and they actually pass away. So that's why he's trying to get his family from another universe, because in his universe they don't exist anymore. So of course, I think we could all agree we would want our family back. That's not an unreasonable thing to be passionate about. But through this character's ignorance, he can't really see past what he wants. He could choose to use his influence to make the world a better place. But he's stuck on this kind of very narrow viewpoint, and he's unable to see how his actions have also led to other suffering that he's causing himself, but he's just kind of in this, again, downward spiral. I don't even think in the movie he stops to think like, oh, hey, maybe this is unsafe. Maybe we shouldn't combine universes because if they're bleeding together and being glued together, it's hard to explain, but they're like popping up of other parts of other universes just showing up in New York. Like maybe this is kind of dangerous. Can we agree at least that we shouldn't combine universes together in this fictional world? Yeah, probably not a good idea unless you really know what you're doing. You know, yeah. Anyway, sorry. So I look at the Kingpin actions in the Spider-Man movie, and I see it for like a metaphor of using technology to chase something outside of us. Part of being human is enjoying family, right? We have to have hobbies. I think we should treat ourselves to life's pleasures. And of course, I doubt any of us in here are building interdimensional portals to maybe find things that we valued and lost in our lives. But all jokes aside, I know, for me at least, that I'm super guilty of being blind to my own attachments for most of my life, and I still am today too. But I know when I think about it and look back that I've definitely said things to other people that I shouldn't have. And it's because I couldn't control myself or my actions in that moment. What I appreciate about our Shinshu is that there is kind of like this reminder for us to reflect on ourselves. Even though it's almost always going to be after the fact, right? I think it's because we have these imperfect selves that we're supposed to rely on the teachings or meet of Buddha even more. I imagine Spider-Man often recalls what his Uncle Ben said to him. The original quote is actually just an end thing in a comic book. Then it gets put into a Spider-Man rockabilly live, or not live, but like voiced play, and then they play music, and then go back to this like vocal acting thing, and then they put it in the comic books. But we all probably know this phrase, with great power comes great responsibility. We've heard that, right? Maybe we knew that with Spider-Man. At least in the original origin story, Spider-Man's the one who lets the robber get away that ends up killing his Uncle Ben. That's why this is like a big thing, because he's always playing it back, because he knew he messed up chasing his wrestling career and not stopping a bad guy. When the police were like, hey, stop that guy, and it's like, hey, buddy, you get paid for this. It's not my job. I have other things to do. He was about to go wrestle, and they were paying him like a lot of money because he was small, but he was strong. Our Buddhist teachings are also there to gently remind us, hey, you're not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be perfect. So I think it would be great if we could listen to that little voice in the back of our head telling us, hey, maybe you're about to do something you're going to regret. Like, stop. But then I think as humans, we kind of need to be reminded of this over and over and over. A while back, I had some friends who were introducing me to people, and one of the people had met me before. And I thought like they kind of looked familiar, but I wasn't quite sure that I'd met this person. But they kind of looked at me like, I think I know that person. And so we were introduced, and it became very clear when they started talking to me, and I guess I could be wrong, I feel like I wasn't, that they did not seem to care for me based on their tone or the things that they were saying and the way they were saying it. So I have that inner voice. This person doesn't like you. Does it really matter if they don't like you? I kind of got angry, but that, you're playing that little battle in your head back and forth, and it's like, look, you need to be polite. This person probably thinks you're not the greatest thing, and they're bad foot forward. Just say hello, be polite, that's all you have to do. So I'm literally for like minutes just replaying this from my I think I do remember meeting you. It's so nice to see you. I know it's been a while. And then when it came time to leave, it's like, okay, you're going to say to all these people, do not be rude to this person. Like, be nice to your friends' friends. And I just looked at this person, and I can't even mimic it. Like, it was so nice to see you. And I mean, in my like fakest, I can't even explain the word right now, but you know the tone, right? It was like, oh, yeah, nice to see you. And I just turned and I was like, why? Like, why did you do that? Like, you knew you had to be polite. Like, you just made yourself look bad. You made your friends look bad, and by association now maybe they have something against your friends, even though they were somehow connected from before. And maybe the person actually liked me. Maybe I just misread the situation. I'm pretty good at social things, like that's what I studied in college. If they didn't hate me before, they probably hated me now. So again, right, like blind passions and ignorance. I felt sided. I'm pretty sure they didn't like me. Could have been wrong, but I gave that person the perfect reason to now dislike me and maybe take it out on my friends. I think in Buddhism, it's discussed. Like, it's hard to see our true selves. We don't want to see it. I think when we're online, it's easier to let that kind of ride because you're just clicking, using a mouse. And it could be easy to forget that we're interacting with people on the other side of the digital world. I think it's easier to be rude through a keyboard. And of course, sometimes you're in person and you still use your fakest telephone voice. You're like, oh, it's so nice to see you. I hope we see you again. Yeah. But it happens. Shinran reminds us in this age where the teachings are in a decline, partly due to ignorance and blind passions being high. And I think this is true. I also think we can begin to see ourselves as we truly are. And when that happens, we will also maybe then see, maybe we've been missing out on other things in lives because our ignorance or our blind passions kind of sheltered us or pushed something away that we thought was bad. Do you have a question?
I have a comment.
Sure, sorry.
And I can't help myself.
Sorry, yeah.
All right. All this stuff with the internet, do you realize that the byproduct is teen suicides are way up?
Yes.
Because of all the people and what you just said a moment ago about, you're kind of anonymous and you could let out the poison or whatever and, it's just cyberspace, all part of it. That's why in kids, and the mom and dad so often give the kid, when they're able to move the dials around on their little phone, they're already hooked up into the internet and all this stuff is coming that's not helping anybody, and because it's easy to be evil and mean when you're anonymous. And the poor kids are getting a diet of this, and the influencers, it's all about, you know, mind just take over, and it's ego driven. And up there where the three poisons are, we all have that within us, but they're like seeds, and if you don't water the seeds of anger or greed or ignorance, they can't take you over. But
Yeah.
the more you're looking out there for people and anonymous telling you whether you're worth anything or not, the more everything is going to collapse. And that's the direction we're all going in right now. Even when you're looking at the war in the Middle East, it's all about, you know, we're over here, you're over there, so what? And we could be mean, or we could do this and do that. Nothing counts.
Oh, yeah. Thank
That's
you for
it.
sharing that. So I think we're going to probably talk about some of this stuff potentially in. Oh, I just blanked. The Q&A. Sorry, but yes, and I think what you're talking about is something that I think we can try to learn for ourselves when we come to the Buddhist temple, or try. I mean, I think any religion. Connect with some other, whether that's a metaphor or something real, like Amida Buddha. Like, you might believe Amida Buddha is this energy or thing or being out there. Maybe Amida Buddha to you is just a story and it's like a guide. I don't know what the right answer is. I mean, I have my personal beliefs, but I at least think for all of you here, like, the point of the religion is that it's supposed to guide us to be a less not nice person. I was going to use a different word, but, like, you know, at the end of the day, I think we have to try to emulate our religious teachings, and that's why we come to church. This isn't part of my Dharma talk, but there is something here, and you're looking for something, obviously, so you come, and then it's hard to, like, look at our true selves, and I think the religion is supposed to buffer that. You can't go super deep all at once. We're going to have blind passions. We can't stop that. We don't have to be perfect. At least in Jodo Shinshu, it's kind of like the come as you are, right? Like, it's made for the foolish person. I don't know if you get into it. The book that Abiko Sensei gave me was actually called The Evil Person. The book for you is probably going to get you really interested in this religion, and I think it'll speak to you. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. The evil person in Buddhism, like, I might have to take a look at this. They didn't think I'd be here, but, you know, here we are. But, you know, these things teach us, like, we do get blinded by our inner selves to the point where we don't see anything else. Maybe I can talk a little bit about this. I know it's 11 o'clock and we're supposed to end. My first 2 jobs out of college, I wasn't the person that should have been working there. We're working with kids being pulled out of juvenile hall in the greater Bay Area, California coast, and they had, almost all of them had gang ties and addiction issues. And so I was an addiction counselor, which for the time in my life probably wasn't the best idea, but it taught me a lot, and it actually was one of the reasons why I actually started going back to church instead of just reading books all the time. I think technology and addiction is greatly tied. I can talk about that later. I left that. It got a little dangerous. I did prevention services, and then that's where I went into mental health stuff. And so I guess taking these steps forward to, like, working with people and just learning a little bit more as I go about how to do it more, like, skillfully. But maybe if we could, in closing, I believe when we get too deep in our own, we're going to miss out on a lot of positive experiences we probably could have had. It's not our fault that something in our brain's telling us to push or, like, bring it in. We do that to protect ourselves. For whatever reason, I think it's instinctual. People do these things, it's because they've been hurt. And we can say, well, all those people out there are bad. Maybe they are. But I think if we're going to emulate, like, Buddhism or the Jodo Shinshu teachings, I think it has to kind of start with us taking some of that in and addressing it. It's hard, so don't do it all at once. It's not a good idea. Take it in little spurts. But I think when we can reflect on this stuff, we can become transformed from the teachings. And then I think we can emulate that. Emulate like what Buddhism's supposed to be teaching us. And then other people can see that. And hopefully through that, we just don't do as many fake telephone voices to people that we probably shouldn't do, or like, actually yelling at your family or your partner because you had a bad day at work and then they do something that's annoying but not worth yelling at, But I'm sure we've all been on both sides of that interaction, right? Because we don't want to yell at people that are close to us. But in closing, I hope that our teachings of Buddhism can be a or guided to assist us in just emulating our teachings, especially right now, because I know with the holidays and everything that's going on in the world, it's a stressful time. So hopefully we can just reflect on this as we go through Christmas and New Year's in the next 2 weeks. Thank you for your attention and time today. Sensei, thank you for letting me share Dharma with you in your congregation. If you could join me in Gassho. Ignorance and blind passions abound, pervading everywhere like innumerable particles of dust. Desire and hatred. Thank you.
You can stay, sir. That's okay.
Landon, thank you very much on behalf of the Buddhist Temple of Alameda for your attendance today and your very moving message. Now please stand for our Gatha, We Are One, in the White Book on page 150. Oh, sure.
Listen to Amida's teachings. Listen with your heart. Listen with your mind to Amida Buddha's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu, singing Namo Amida Butsu. All of the world is bright, singing Namo Amida Butsu. We are one. Peace and harmony in Amida's land. Peace and harmony within me. Put our hands together, bow our heads. Thankful to Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu, singing Namo Amida Butsu. All of the world is bright, singing Namo Amida Butsu. We are one. We are one.
I was going to say, please be seated, but you already jumped the gun. Thank you for all those who have helped with the preparations for today's service. Are there any newcomers? I see a lot of familiar faces. Any newcomers? No newcomers.
We have old colors.
For announcements, let me just point out, for next Sunday, December 24th, there will be no service. There will be a New Year's Eve service on Sunday, December 31st. The Joya service at 3 p.m. That's on New Year's Eve. And then on New Year's Day, it'll be a 10 o'clock service. Do we have any other announcement? That's it.
I do.
It's birthday Sunday.
Yeah, today's birthday Sunday.
I have to go get the little ones.
Okay, so because of the holidays coming up, this is the final Sunday service of the month. And on each Sunday service of the month, we have Birthday Sunday. So who has a birthday in the month of December? Yay, okay. So there's, I think, one or two who are going to come down from upstairs, and they're going to join us. You can please stay up here, and then we'll sing happy birthday and take your picture. So,
Brother Dennis,
yes,
there's also coffee hour on December 24th. Christmas Eve. There's,
coffee hour
December
on the
24th.
24th.
Coffee hour also, and to make that announcement also.
Did you hear the announcement from Karen? Coffee hour on December 24th. At what time was that, Karen?
Coffee hour?
Yep,
With, it's a Zoom coffee hour.
Zoom coffee.
It should all be in your emails. Let me know if you did it, because I can add you.
Okay, so are they coming down?
Yeah, who's coming up? Please come up.
Jackie?
Don't be shy.
December
December
birthdays. December birthdays. Please come up.
Come up in Oshoko.
Where's Howard? Okay.
Birthday donations can be cash or check. Cars are okay.
They're all quarters.
Oh, well, Daddy apparently grants 10
No. It's from her, it's from her, you put it in.
Do we have enough?
December is the biggest month.
Don't worry.
It's mine.
That's good. It's fine. That's good. It's a centipede.
Sorry, it's not yours. It is mine. No.
Yeah, this side now. This side. Start a new line.
We made this cake.
Looks like there's a lot of them in.
You have to stand up there. We sing happy birthday to everybody. Wait. Let's show her. What is it?
How old are you?
Oh, you're right.
One side?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear everybody.
Okay, that will conclude this morning's service. So we will all come out in a circle and we'll have refreshments after. Thank you.
There's refreshments afterwards, and there's an opportunity to have discussion with Landon in the social hall. So if you want to stay, you're able to stay, you stay for refreshments and discussion in the social hall.
Yeah, one more announcement that Doug just gave. So, Landon's Buddhist Education Committee has asked Landon to touch upon a few topics about bringing Buddhism to our young adults here at the temple and in our community. And so we've kind of set up seating so we can ask questions and Landon can say something. And if you need to talk to someone, we still have our treats and coffee and tea, and you can be on one side, and there's a different section for the discussion portion. So, thank you very much.
I can bring my coffee in there, right? It's okay to drink it in there. Is it cold? I mean, it's closed. Bring it in here. It's in the furnace.